Hey, it's Steve Zonardi here with Mike Gaddy with Real Estate on Record. We're going to talk today about the market in general, how, like, obviously October's performing, how we're in mid-November now, how November's performing, and how the fourth quarter looks for the end of year. Mike's going to head it off. So what are you seeing, Mike?
Yeah, so like we were talking about previously, our inventory's up. From the beginning of September, we're probably up about 34%. Basically, we're up to 19,500 units on the market in all Treb. And we're seeing obviously less sales, obviously bringing us to a point where our buyers have more options and there's less buyers that are actually qualified to purchase those options, ultimately putting pressure on price, which we're starting to see more price reductions. For example, a townhouse that we have listed now, there was a better unit available just around the corner in the complex, and they went from basically a million bucks, and they dropped to $959 and dropped to $899, which crushes our price, especially because that's where we were supposed to come out at $899. They're definitely a better product than us, but now, unfortunately, we're gonna have to just adjust our price to meet with the times.
Absolutely. We always tell sellers that your house is worth, obviously, number one, what a buyer is willing to pay for. Number two, what your neighbor is gonna sell for.
Exactly.
And that's what's gonna happen. It's always gonna set the bar. That's why we always talk about getting on the market before anyone else is. When you see like a void period with no listings, don't wait.
No.
Get on the market, set the bar, set the price, and see if you can extract the most amount of money possible. We know how we work. We're trying to get our clients the most amount of money when we list properties. So ultimately, let us go first. We'll set the bar. Maybe we'll try to get a little boosted up in price and stuff like that. But at least we set the bar. Then ultimately, we have an opportunity to sell it. But we found out too, like, we have to be careful too when we kind of boost properties too much if we're the only ones on the market, because then after, again, if your neighbor comes to the market and they're really aggressive on price, then it kind of puts you in a deficit, like we saw that property in Bond Head, right? Yeah, it's pretty cool. And then also just talking about in the last episode, you were talking about how the inventory. Currently, right now, we're just shy of 20,000 units. But going into the fourth quarter now, like in the Christmas season right now, usually we have a tail, like a inventory drop off, right? It's dropping off, but it's like you were saying, 3 times the amount of inventory that we normally would have going into like the Christmas season. I started real estate in 2010, so I remember always looking at statistics then, because obviously I've always spent money on coaching, so we've always had like an insight, and analytics was what we're main focused on, how we sold property. So we were always looking at analytics. I remember going into like December, we had like 4,600 units. Yeah, imagine that.
Wow.
Again, the population I'm sure was a lot less. I don't know what it is now currently to when I first started real estate. Also, the amount of inventory would have been a lot less. But ultimately, 4,600 units. And what we were telling clients then, and what we were trained to tell clients, because in your mind, you think don't go on the market. Like, it's Christmas time, let's let the holidays pass.
It's winding down.
Yeah, it's winding down. You shouldn't go to the market, and no one's going to be interested in buying. It's actually quite the opposite, because even though now we had a tailing of inventory coming down, it's still high, but it's less than it was last month. It's still less inventory gives you better option, but gives you a better option to sell for a little bit more money, right? Just based on what's currently happening. And then also the houses are decorated. They're festive. They got the hopefully Christmas lights on, Christmas tree, all that stuff on the interior. So it's basically you've staged the property.
Indirectly.
Yeah,
and for the season.
And the buyers will have an emotional effect to that. And then when people are emotional, I don't know if you've ever been on a cruise. You ever been on a cruise?
Yeah.
It's like all emotions. You're stuck on this floating island. Everything feels good. It feels like you're in Vegas. They must pump like severe oxygen through everything. And then you're always buying. We buy a watch, buy some sort of like
something just because you're in a good mood.
Yeah. Automatic watches. And their sales gimmick was off topic, but it was like, why are you gonna ruin your vacation? Buy the watch now, then enjoy your vacation. It was like an NLP close, right? Showing like pain to pleasure, right, kind of thing. It was pretty cool. But
you're gonna enjoy that vacation that much more with the watch.
Yeah. Why are you gonna fret like the next 5 to 7 days to buy this watch? Buy it today, day one.
If you didn't buy it after seeing that, you're gonna think that you're gonna ruin your vacations. You have to buy it.
Yeah, you're gonna spend all your time in the jewelry store. No, go to the pool, buy it now. And then you saw the discounts, how they got lower and lower during the week. So it's just that's hilarious. That's why I didn't buy, buddy. Yeah, but even now, what we're seeing for the fourth quarter, I guess obviously the season's coming to a halt. And yeah, there's financial issues all around. It is what it is. Like
What was it? September was the slowest volume in sale. I think was it 99?
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was like
yeah.
ridiculous. Like we haven't seen
46. I think it was 4,600
four to
sales.
600 sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, in September, which was crazy. And that was when we saw that inventory dump. Kids went to school, and September 1st, like we were gaining 1,000 units almost per week. Like,
Yeah,
that
yes.
that were
Yeah.
staying on the market.
It was 2,000 listings on and
1,000
1,000
off,
selling.
that's right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was like in in 10 weeks it would have doubled all the inventory on the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even like cottage country, we were looking today, like sales volume in cottage country is basically dropped in half year over year
yeah.
in the 705. So like that's getting even hit harder than we are south in the GTA.
Yeah, it's so I always say it's like a wave. Think about it like a surf, like a wave, the surf of a wave. So when it's a hot market, Toronto pushes values. Like you can't afford Toronto, so you go to the so 416, you go to the 905. 905 you can't afford there, you go to the 705. So it's this whole wave. But then when the market retracts, it pulls all the value back with it, and it sticks to Toronto. It's just that's basically.
You're right, because I remember being like during the pandemic when that wave was going out. I remember like thinking to myself like, I should have bought something like a cottage. I should have bought something in like Collingwood, something, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like looking at these prices, they were so cheap. It's like something that was 650 turned into 900, a million. At that time, I'm like, I bought in the city, but to be honest, in the long term game, I'm kind of happy that that's where I stayed,
Oh,
right?
shit.
Because that's where the values are coming back to. We're seeing, I know, for example, I was looking at a townhouse in Collingwood. What was 1-1? We're into the like 850s, 830s, right?
Oh, yeah.
So those numbers have come and gone. That tide is coming, receded very quickly.
The true values are starting to come out in everything. Watches. You look at Submariner Rolexes. I want to buy another watch, clearly, right? I love automatic watches. Like, this is why I wear a biometrics, like a Whoop strap. I don't want, like, a smart watch where I'm, like, it screws with the automatic. Like, I like the engineering behind it. But, like, if you're looking at a Submariner Rolex at the height of 22, it was, like, $21,000, which is insane. The watch is not worth $21,000. I don't give a shit. It was just lack of inventory, and people were just boosting prices. It was going through, like Rolex would sell it for one price. They wouldn't boost them any higher than that. Then it was going through middlemen because they would like load up on this shit and keep selling it.
Yeah.
But now they're dropped like 35, 40%. Like, so now you can get that same Rolex for like 16,000, let's say, and it's still overpriced. Like that should be like a $10,000-$11,000 watch in hindsight, right? Maybe 12,000 max, depending if it's like with the date and all that. But again, everything's coming down. All those luxury watches, cars.
It's all trending in the same direction.
Oh, for sure. I was looking at just again. We always have like a big goals of everything. Like I want to buy a Ferrari. Just no matter what, it has to have one at some point, and because I like it. But you should look at the prices. Like a 430 Ferrari at one point was like you couldn't touch them less than 180 to 200,000 to 220, depending. It was ridiculous. Now they're, again, you got to watch if they're a hit or whatever. But they're like $140, $150, $160. They're starting to come down. And you know how it is, like real estate. You're going to sell what your neighbor is sold for, right? So that's what they're doing. Everyone's adjusting prices. 911s, like I remember I bought mine, and then it went up like, holy shit. I think I made like 40 grand the first year. It was like ridiculous. But now we're probably exactly what I paid for it, and maybe even less now. So it is what it is. Everything's starting to come down.
The whole tide is in
Yeah.
that direction.
It's liquidity, right? People don't have liquidity. Like they had, let's say, obviously during COVID when the banks were when the Feds gave all the banks all this liquidity to kind of go ham on, and they were lending it out for cheap, and everyone went nuts on it, right? But,
Drunk on cheap money.
drunk on cheap money. The only good thing about this is if you have a few dollars, and obviously we're setting up on multiple businesses, a whole bunch of shit. So we're like everything's on clear investment right now. We have no room to buy like luxury products or anything like that. For me personally, but if you have a few bucks and you've been waiting to buy something like like a sports car or something like that or whatever, like luxury watches and shit like that, everything's coming down.
That's
Everything's
where you get your deal.
yeah, for sure. And then you know what? You'll buy it at hopefully you buy it at a bottoming out price, and you hold on to it, and now you've basically set the bar, and you're gonna be set for appreciation.
Yeah.
So, I was looking at my parents. Like we locked in their GICs and stuff like that. Like again, I hated GICs. So the last time I bought it was when I was 19, and I just bought them recently, like last year, rather when we sold all our properties. Just basically, it was the safest investment. We weren't going to lend money on the street because lending money was on depreciating assets. Didn't make sense to me. I kind of simplify things. If that's gonna depreciate, why would I give you money on it? Doesn't make sense. So we just stuck it in the bank where it's secure. Remember, in Canada, they only insure $100,000, so you have to basically break it up into different chunks. And if you have a lot of money, you got to keep moving it to other banks and just break it $100,000 chunks so it's insured, right? But going back to that, it was looking at what we did with them. They made they're making money. They've I think it was like 50 grand in the last year, so that's pretty good. We locked it in for 3 years, so they should do some nice numbers there. Compared to their because it is we take advice from like professionals in the bank and we think that they know everything. Warren Buffett said it the best. Why do you take advice from someone that drives, like he was talking about the stock market, right? So he's like, so you're taking advice from someone that rides a subway and you're coming in with a Rolls Royce. Like, it doesn't make sense. You should be taking it. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same idea. Like some of these guys, they don't get like the market. Because when I told them to kind of cash out of the stock market because it was going to crash, they were all hesitant. Like the people at the bank were, like sort of berating me. It's like, it'll come back. I'm like, well, why not sell it now? It's going to go down further. Sell it out now and put it into something that's cash positive, or it's going to make you money. So my dad was happy.
I'm sure he was.
Yeah, well, he's not. Obviously, my dad had that massive stroke a few years back, so he's not. He needs someone to manage all this shit for him. So
Yeah.
He was happy. He gave me the thumbs up. I'm like, okay, good.
He liked that 50 grand.
Yeah, he liked it. It was like, good job. That's I like it. I like what you're doing here. It's under new management.
That's it. Even like looking at renewals this year, right? Mortgage renewals, they're saying, talking about that liquidity issue that we're going to see even moving forward. The renewals, we're getting up to 40% of all mortgages, or by the end of this year, should feel the pain of the new higher rates. So there's another 60% to be felt, and next year there's like 180 billion in mortgage renewals that are coming up.
How many?
180 billion dollars
Wow.
in renewals, and then I think it's like 300 and something, 25, and then 26 is like in the 400 million. Billion.
Is that all resi or commercials?
I'm not 100%. I'm not 100%.
I think the commercial sector is pretty much fucking shot.
Yeah,
to be
it's
honest.
getting killed right now. Like I'm looking at commercial loans for one client in particular. Like you're at like eight and a half almost.
But they were the Feds now just released $8.5 billion for the commercial lending liquidity.
In the States, yeah.
No, I think it's here in Canada.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was in the States.
Was that the States? No, I think it was
Was it
here.
here?
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for watching us on this episode of Real Estate on Record with Steve and Mike. You can follow, like, and subscribe with the links below. And we'll catch you on the next one. Ciao.
Ciao.